Happy Monday, degenerates, and a Merry Christmas Eve to all of you out there. Hope everybody is doing well tonight. Hey, I told you guys we got no content for MMA fans all around the world this time of year, but I am here. I will not abandon you. I'll make sure you got at least a little something to sink your teeth into. Tonight is the sometimes it's the best show of the year. Sometimes it's the worst show of the year. It depends on your perspective, but it is the best and worst betting recap for 2024 on the years that I do really, really well, or even if I just do okay. This is a really fun show. Now, I'm sure this is probably the haters' favorite show of the year because I come on and I let you guys know what the worst bets I made through the past year is. And of course, with the numbers I'm putting up for 2024, bad year all the way around, no hiding from it, unfortunately. So those of you who are on the hater train, you guys are going to enjoy this evening very, very much. But regardless of whether it's a good show, whether it's a bad show, I think it's important that I always do this show, keeping with the honesty, the openness, the transparency that I've always promised you guys. I am an absolute degenerate, but I'm never going to lie to you about anything. So we're going to come clean here tonight on some of the mistakes that I made throughout the year 2024. And this is going to be one of the worst shows of the year this year around because of the ass whooping that I've taken essentially since January 1st, 2024. What is going on? Grateful dude in the house, all on Dream hanging out. Let's go Winnipeg Jets. I hope you're cashing in. I love this time of year when we get the college football games and the hockey going at 10 11 a.m., that kind of thing. You got a little something to degen out on throughout the day. It's good stuff. Dream, I didn't hit the Jets, but I did hit the Devils -1.5 on that puck line +105. So I'm already rocking and rolling myself today. Salt Dirt in the house. Louis Mack Jr., what is going on? Merry Christmas to you as well, my friend. All right, everybody. So like I mentioned to you at the top of the show, what today is we're going to be counting down the best and worst bets that I made of 2025. And so if I can find the right tab here for you guys, what I have here is my handy dandy spreadsheet. And now I've told you guys, one of the favorite hater train things to get on is the fact that I don't track my bets. I'm not on Bet MMA Tips, bro. Get your shit on Bet MMA Tips. I have a spreadsheet. I update it every single year. It's got this cool little tab down here that automatically calculates everything for me. Average line, it keeps track of the wins, the losses, pushes, the total units, which, by the way, there you go, guys, including all of my futures action in 2024, -82.55 units. Just absolutely disgusting results. Awful year for me this year. -12.82% ROI. I am just, like I said, it's important for honesty. It's important for transparency to show you guys these things. I'm never going to run from it, but my God, like I am better than that, but I have no evidence of that for the last 365 days, unfortunately. Salter saying Vikings look great. Yeah, they do. We're kicking some ass, baby. We've got Green Bay, and then we've got the Lions. Division is going to be on the line. 2 more games to win, and then we might end up with a bye week. What's going on in Minnesota, baby? Let's go. Feeling good about that for sure. But yeah, so I always keep track of everything in a spreadsheet. And just so, if you guys haven't been around long enough to know, if you're relatively new to me and new to the show, I dump everything into this spreadsheet as I have time. So one of the things I've always tried to tell people, and I don't bring it up often anymore, obviously, because it's kind of a boring talking point if you're not really into me tracking my picks and record, etc., that kind of thing. The reason I don't use a site like Bet MMA Tips, when I first got started, I tried to jump on Bet MMA Tips. They have a certain date and time where it like locks the site. So you're not allowed to put any plays in after that. So my record was never accurate because if I forgot to log the bet that I made into Bet MMA Tips, it would shut down your opportunity to do so. And so my record was bad on there, not because of my results, but because of my lack of ability to track on that kind of stuff. As you guys know, I'm a full time dad. I have a full time job. So it was a situation where like I just couldn't quite get it to where I was tracking things appropriately. So the record was never an accurate reflection of what I did. On top of that, I like to track my live betting action. And again, whether it's a win or a loss, hey, I'm posting up a minus 82 unit record for the year for you guys. I am not hiding from losing live bets or anything like that either. Those are all in here too. So I like to have that because that's something that they don't let you access is your live records or anything like that. So as you guys can see, started out the year on a pretty little rough note here with Tyler Lapalus not getting it done there. Took him live. Phil Hawes, my God, what was I thinking? Like I remember this bet. I remember this bet because, guys, I am the biggest Phil Hawes hater on the planet. You guys know this. And for some god awful reason, I decided that Phil Hawes as an underdog against Bruno Silva was the way to go. Now, I am trying to also fade Bruno, and that's kind of the thing. But God, the chin of Phil Hawes it's gone. It's just not there. So how did I ever think that was the way to go? These are the kinds of things where I look back and I'm just like, it's important. You can learn from your mistakes, but God, it's like in hindsight, no shit. Bruno was going to knock out Phil Hawes. Like, why did I ever even think there was a chance something else was going to happen? Of course, that was going to be the outcome. So even though it was only a 1-unit bet, just we can throw Phil Hawes on the very first worst bet of the year. Salter Taney, unfortunately, was also a Phil Hawes believer. Yeah, and it's so funny because I was a Phil Hawes hater. And again, not the guy, but from a betting perspective, right? Like I was not a Hawes believer. I wanted to bury the guy. I wanted to fade him every chance I got. And then as soon as there was a plus next to his name against somebody else I didn't believe in, I'm like, So I think that's a lesson. You guys, the last bad year that I had betting, right, was 2022. So that was the one that set the bar for my worst year ever previously. And I learned the hard way that year not to fade shit with shit, right? Don't bet against a bad fighter with another bad fighter. And that's something I stopped doing in 2023. And I kind of feel like I turned right back around and got back to it. I think, and I'm trying to like self-diagnose here on this one because I had the worst year of my life, 2022. I had the best year of my life, 2023. And then I followed it up with the new worst year of my life in 2024. So I think I kind of reverted on some of those lessons learned in 2022. And I kind of went back to my old ways a decent bit here. So some of those lessons need to be relearned and reapplied. I did make some big mistakes. We'll get to those. But situations like this, I think I got cocky. And that's something you can never let ego into your sports betting. You can't. And I think I did. Because stuff like this, where it's like, man, I know Phil Hawes is not the guy. I know he's got no chin. I know I want to bet against him. But at plus 110, I felt like I was smarter than the bookies trying to squeeze this one in because I felt like I knew something about Bruno that other people didn't. And I still am not a believer in Bruno, but he's way better than I gave him credit for. And just putting my money on Phil Hawes, knowing full well what I know and knew about Phil, that's the kind of spot I just don't need to get involved in, and I went back to that many, many times this year where I was just piling in on those kinds of bad spots. So lesson learned, right? We're gonna try to remember that moving forward. So rolling down here, one of my best live bets for the year, Jimmy Flick. Woo, my guy, plus 400 live, love it. Sam Patterson, 2 units, starting off the Link Memorial Dog of the Week trend for us. That was a good way to go. Plus money on that one. Now, these obviously were not the best bets of the year or anything. I'm just kind of going through the betting history here with you guys. Mayra Bueno Silva, maybe just one of the worst calls I've made all year. was Mayra Bueno Silva. Because not only did I have Mayra Bueno betting action, I had her in the futures market, and she was my biggest futures bet of 2024. I really thought she was going to get through one big win, get the gold wrapped around her waist, and then defend the title like maybe once. And I'd be able to cash an easy peasy ticket with people looking past her. Her going up against a cardio machine like my girl Rocky, that just didn't pan out. Absolutely did not pan out. Mystery Man saying you can stretch that to minus 100 in 2026. I believe in you. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Planning on going, the other direction, but still appreciate the support. For those of you who don't know, my pattern is as follows. We alternate wins and losses every year around here. I was trying to end that last year and failed spectacularly at it. But every single year that I have gone negative, I have followed that up with a big positive. Actually, I can show you guys here. I've got that up here as well. As always, I post everything for you guys. So my annual recaps that I do, when we started the show in 2019, I came out the gates firing, didn't know shit. Right, like just a guy talking fights and talking about what I'm betting and putting it out there on audio. Started tracking myself for the first time, plus 19.88 units. Felt like I was smarter and better than I actually was. Learned the hard way, fucked around and found out. 2020, we went negative 10 units. And so then 2021, I feel like 2021 was like the real me. You know what I mean? I started off hot in 2019 with the podcast, got cocky, paid for it in 2020. And then 2021, I was like, okay, like now we're kind of doing it all, starting to get the right way, right? And we ended up going plus 34 units in 2021. And that's when, again, A, I got cocky, and then B, we had just a legendary downtrend in underdogs in 2022. I mean, record breaking the amount of underdogs that were not hitting in 2022. Favorites rolled through, and as an underdog, mostly better. That just destroyed me. I adjusted, and then the dogs also started barking in 2023, and that's when we put up the plus 88.61 units. So all around, guys, lifetime, I'm down about 20 units at this point. And that's sad. That's really sad, because for me, I've always prided myself on being able to say, I'm not the best MMA gambler, right? I'm absolutely not the best. I've never claimed to be. I'm not trying to convince you that I am, but I am profitable. That's always what I've been able to say, is that I am profitable. Well, as of right now, got to fess up. I am not profitable. I am down 20 units lifetime betting MMA, but doing this shit for 6 years and being down 20 units for an average Joe, I mean, I don't know. Could be worse. Could be worse. I plan to remedy that next year. Don't worry. We'll get those 20 units back in 2025, and we will end up headed the right direction. Part of that is going to come on the back of my boy Umar Nurmagomedov. Let's see here. Salter saying Magny versus Malat. Absolute cinema. Oh my God, I know. That was. You know what? I was considering doing like a bad beats section. We're doing best and worst. I was considering doing like a bad beats part of it, where it's like, well, it was a good bet, but it didn't quite get there. And that was the kind of fight that would be on the short list for that. But we talked about Mayra Bueno being one of my worst reads ever. You know what? Dricus Duplessis is on this one right here, but this is not the Israel Adesanya fight. Dricus Duplessis versus Israel Adesanya was one of my best bets of the year. I've got it on my list over here of my best bets of 2024. This was the Sean Strickland fight. Now, I've been basically blind betting Dricus ever since he got to the UFC, and that man has been a money train for me. He just keeps on rolling, and the bookies keep disrespecting him. They don't realize, and we keep getting good numbers, and we're just going to keep hammering. This one, however, as you guys know, was a very controversial split decision that he went to with Sean Strickland. So it was a winning bet, but it definitely wasn't one of my best bets, right? In a split decision, I always want to be on the plus money side. That's something I always say. If you have a feeling the fight's going to be that close, you want the plus money side of the equation. So I'm happy I was on the right side. I'm happy to cash the ticket, but the one just below it, the live bet of Dricus Duplessis at plus 325, that was a fucking good bet. It's not on my list of best bets, obviously, for the year, but I'm pretty proud of myself for being able to hit that one. Let's see here. This is where it all started going south, right? This dry patch right here that you guys can see is where it all started heading the wrong way. Pete Rodriguez, my lord, that against Themba Garembo. It's funny, I've come full circle on Themba Garembo in 2024. This was what I thought of Thimba Garimbo at the beginning of the year. We went from betting plus 200 Pete Rodriguez, thinking he wasn't all that, to laying the lumber on Thimba Garimbo a couple of times recently, like parlaying him up as a minus 250 favorite. So, like, we've recognized what Thimba Garimbo is, but then we bet against him with Vicente Luque just in his last fight. So it's funny. That one has come all the way around that we were like, you know what? Thimba just ain't that good, but will cash tickets on him a couple of times. You know, Thimba's one of those fighters that I think if I were to like analyze, hey, like I think he is one of the fighters I've had maybe one of the best reads on for the year. Because, like I said, I know I messed up. Pete Rodriguez can definitely go in the dumpster of one of the worst bets that I've made for the year, but I was onto something. And then we turned our opinion around. We made money on Themba for the rest of the year. So definitely a guy I think we can kind of say, you know, good job. We figured out what he was, and we were able to make that work for us throughout the year. Oh, Mystery Man saying, okay, I'm not sure if you had a ticket for Umar to be champ by the end of the year. If you did, missed by a hair. So close. Yes. Thank you, Mystery Man. So that is a bit of a sad story. I actually broke the market on that one. Now, you guys know me. I'm not trying to puff my chest up. I'm not trying to tell you I move lines. I don't. But I made the internet aware that Bet Online was hanging a plus 800 with Umar being champion at the end of 2024. I got Umar to be champion at the end of 2024 at plus 800. We smashed that number. Now, Bet Online needs to send me a care package, some chocolate dipped fruits, maybe a bouquet of flowers, something. You guys owe me for that one because you scooped every single dollar me and the rest of the degenerates all around the world hammered on Umar futures. But yeah, that plus 800 had legs, and he was down to like plus 250, I think, like by February. So, I mean, we destroyed that line. Everywhere else in the world opened up like plus 300 at the highest. Like DraftKings opened up plus 300, but Bet Online hung plus 800. And frankly, you guys, I do think that was a good bet. I know some people, I had some guy on Instagram arguing that that was one of my worst bets and it was a donation, but let's not forget that the fight with Corey Sandhagen got delayed by like 3-4 months. Like that fight got pushed back. And as soon as Umar won that fight, the UFC said, title shot, kid. Like they were ready to move him into the contender circle immediately. And look at what's going on with Merab. That's a whole thing. The whole Merab and Umar, I could do a video on that shit. Merab just posted another video today, you guys, today on the day of filming. He's locked out of the UFC PI right now. Why? Because Umar is in the PI training. The UFC is like, you, sir, are champion. You can't come inside right now. Hey, one of the short list guys on my best bets for the year is Merab Dvalishvili. I backed that man like my life depended on it. I've made so much money on Merab. You guys know I love Merab. But the UFC absolutely has this man circled as a target for Umar Nurmagomedov. And it's clear as day. So, yeah, that futures ticket probably should have cashed, especially considering Merab was calling out Sean O'Malley for a rematch in December. He was willing to get back in the cage again for an easy paycheck, but refused to fight Umar until like September or something after he got a vacation and rematched somebody else in between there. He wanted nothing to do with the kid. But guess what? They strong-armed Merab, and that fight's happening in January. So, long story short, yes, I missed out on the 8-1, but I've made the biggest futures bet of my life on Umar Nurmagomedov to be champion at the end of 2025. Now, this is one I hope you guys have been watching the show for this one, because I gave that out to the world as soon as it dropped. As soon as it came out, DraftKings was the first place to put out 2025 futures, and I immediately posted that you guys needed to get on this one. And I don't encourage people to tail me often, especially when I'm, on like a losing skid the way that I am. But this was one that I was like, hey, you guys better get on this because it's going to move. Here we go. I got it up here. 1 second. Yeah. So I bet 5 units on Umar Bantamweight champion at the end of 25 at plus 330. They were hanging a plus 330, and I've never put, I think I put 2 units on Myra Bueno. That's the biggest futures bet I've ever made before this one. And again, I said that was one of my worst bets, obviously. Went down with the ship on that one. All of my futures bets are quarter unit, half unit, because they're crazy odds. You need a lot of stuff to shake out the right way. Maybe 1 unit at most if I'm really feeling myself. I don't bet big on futures. This is the only time this has ever happened. And like I said, you can see the date stamp right here for you guys, September 10th, 2024. I posted this up for people that we were going to have 5 units on Umar Nurmagomedov at plus 330. He is now the favorite. He's now the favorite, you guys. He is sitting at plus 105 or something like that. And Merab, the seeded champion, is like plus 110. Umar's minus 300 in that fight. He's lined as a minus 300 favorite in that fight. So, yeah, I hope you guys got on that, but I'm going back to the well with my boy Umar, and the cash at 5 units plus 330 is going to be much, much larger than the 1 unit at plus 800 was going to be. So I'm okay with lighting the 1 unit on fire at plus 800 to hit this bad boy. I will think about hedging potentially at the end of the year, because the whole thought process around this whole thing is obviously Umar beats Merab, and then maybe gets 1 title defense. Now, he'll go through Ramadan, so that's going to move everything back. The UFC will want him to defend his title probably around International Fight Week or something like that. And it all comes down to whether or not they make him defend a second time somewhere in like the December ballpark. We know with all these Russian dudes, the Khabibs, the Islams, they only fight about twice a year. So I am crossing my fingers that I have to get through 1 title defense, and that cashes the ticket for me. That's the plan. That's the plan. So fingers crossed I can get that one home. That would go a big way to boosting my my 2025 right out the gate if we could lock that one up and have it ready to go for the year. Aaron, howdy, my friend. Happy holidays. Thank you for being here. Thank all of you for being here. 400 of you live watching the show here today. Hit the like button for me if you don't mind. Probably should speed up the show, just a little bit. We're rambling and chatting and have a good time today. So not too worried about it, but I do need to sweat the Green Bay Packers game tonight, because first and foremost, I want the Packers to lose. I want the Saints to just beat the brakes off of them so that my Vikings have an easier game next week. And then secondly, I do have 1 best ball roster that is still alive. One best ball roster. And it is alive pending tonight's game. So I'm going to have to sweat points because my roster, all I've got is Wicks. But I had a hell of a Sunday, and I put up big time points with a lot of different people. If I can squeeze on through to next week, maybe we can have some good stuff going on for fantasy football. I got eliminated everywhere else. You guys, I am cursed in 2024. You know this. Look at my betting record, but it spilled into fantasy football. You would not believe the calls that I made this year in fantasy football. I knew my shit in fantasy football this year. Jackson Smith and Jigma, Jordan Addison, Bucky Irving, Jamar Chase. I mean, I was hitting all the hot buzz guys that you wish you had drafted this year. I had them. I had piles of them, and I had a lot of best ball teams, and I had a lot of fantasy football. And they all got eliminated on the first week of playoffs, and they all exploded this week. That we're talking 1 dropped pass. I lost by 3 points. I barely didn't get through because of the fucking Lions and Bills that decided to go off and put up all the points in the first week of playoffs. I got eliminated just painfully everywhere. And all of those teams would have destroyed in the second week. So barely losing in the first round and just pain in the second round. So I need this one last best ball team to pay off for me. Killer Fight Picks, what's going on? Josh Jacobs probably going off tonight. That is probably accurate. Saints defense doing a little bit better than it used to. So, we'll see. I do expect him to probably eat tonight, though. We'll see what happens. Let's get back to the MMA action and more of the confessions here as we get down to the 40s here. Bogdan Guskov Gotta love seeing a check next to that one. I was able to get him home on that one. Let's see here. Oh God, Trevin Giles. See, this is another one. Trevin Giles, Darius Flowers. Look at these. Look at these. I mean, it's 1 unit, 2 units, so it's not like I was losing my mind on them. But these are exactly the kind of plays that I've been making all year this year. And I just looking back on them, I'm like, I know why I bet them. You know, Trevin Giles is like a Hall of Famer bad pick here going up against Carlos Prates. Why, man? Like and again, you watch the tape and he's winning the fight right up until he gets cold cocked and dies. So it looks like a good bet, but look what Prates has done since then. Like I'm just God, those are terrible. Those are just terrible. And Darius Flowers with 0 gas tank, a guy that's going to get let go from the UFC. For some reason, I felt like he had legs. And I parlayed Devin Clark. You guys, I hate Devin Clark. I fade Devin Clark with every chance I get, and I parlayed his ass. Why? Because I was fading shit with shit. Do you guys remember this fight? It was the one, I think he got released after this one. This is when he was fighting who, in my opinion, was the nut worst 205-pounder on the roster, Marcin Prachniow. Now, I keep betting against Marcin Prachniow because he's a bum. I got some money back when he fought Modestas Pakauskas. We knew Modestas was getting that shit done for us. But I had already sunk, a chunk down the river because I parlayed Devin Clark. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what are we even doing? How are you ever parlaying Devin Clark? That's just bad. That's just bad. Sean saying Chase probably put up crazy points. He did, man. Like I said, I had so many best ball teams that had Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow that were like, I would full steam ahead. I was like, hell yeah, man. But then they had like a normal game first week of playoffs, and that wasn't enough. You can't have a normal game when the Bills and the damn Lions are putting up 50 points with every player on the freaking roster. Who do I think should win MVP? Oh man, see, I got to be honest with you. I'm one of those weird people. I think that MVP is most valuable player to the team, and I know the way it works is like whatever team is good. It's like whatever team goes to the Super Bowl, that the winner of the Super Bowl gets the Super Bowl MVP, that kind of thing. I'm like, I think it's most valuable player for your team, right? Like the number one, like if you removed this guy, if he doesn't exist, the team is sunk. I think that should be the definition personally. And I think Joe Burrow is the MVP this year. I really do. But you can't argue that Josh Allen is doing kind of the same thing on his team. He has no receivers. He has absolutely no receivers. He's probably the MVP. Plus the team is winning. So that knocks it over the edge, right? But I think Joe Burrow personally, but you can't give it to a team that's not even going to make the playoffs. So it is what it is. Yeah, back to fights though. Let's see here. Oh Lord, just another giant list of red X's here on the next fight night that we had here. Andrea Lee, I knew she was done. I knew she was shot. I kept betting her because it was going to be a close fight. Terrible. Volkanovski, this is one that I will stand by. I will stand by and defend the fact that I bet on Alexander Volkanovski because you don't get to being the GOAT without just being a complete badass, right? Turns out Ilya Topuria is just that dude. He's the best. He's faster. He's more explosive. He can wrestle. He's big. Like, he's the beast. But I will stand by betting Alexander Volkanovski at even money because you just never get that. You just never get that. It was a losing bet. Volkanovski, his fall off has been frankly incredible because he's just keeping on taking bad fights over and over and over and over again. Not letting himself rest, not letting himself recover, not developing. He's just getting in there and fighting again. And that's the kind of thing that you can't do at that stage. So not great, obviously. But I don't think it's a bad idea to do that kind of thing for the most part. Let's see here. Got a couple of wins here. Brandon Royval, Moreno and Royval over 3.5. That was a good little run that we went on there. But then again, I bet Jimmy Pickett live for God knows what reason. Losing on Umar inside the distance made me sad because he could have finished. We know he can finish. He's going to finish again. But yeah. Let's see here. Here we go. Here's another bad run for you guys. Oof. For the Bantamweight King, having this black mark on my record, Song Yadong, and then doubling down on him at plus money. Oh, that made me sad. I knew full well that was going to be a tough fight, and I went and did it anyway. And then you know what? The one for me that really stings, Marlon Vera at plus 210 for 2 units against Sean O'Malley. I mean, I came on my show and was like, this could be a sucker bet. Like, the only reason they're giving Sean O'Malley that fight is to like erase the loss on his record, right? Like they were setting him up to be a star. And then I fell right into the trap of going ahead and betting Chito in that spot, knowing full well that the entire intent was for this guy to lose that fight. So just bad for me. Bad thought process, bad look, bad thought process. But on that same card, one of my better bets for the entire year, Curtis Blades at even money against Jailton Almeida. Finished his ass. I talked about that guy being a fake heavyweight. You know, he's juiced to the gills, couldn't make freaking 205 anymore. Went up to heavyweight and he's beating people up. First grappler he fights at heavyweight. Even money on Curtis Blades? Fuck yeah. That one felt good. That will go on the best bets list. My 7-unit parlay with Asu Almabayev and Robelis to Spain. Oh, I mean, at least I got one with Robelis, right? Like, oh, that shithead's over in Karate Combat now. Like, cashing this 7-unit max bet for 3.95 units profit, and then sinking another 8 units on Robelis for the rest of his UFC career. I can't put that on the best bet list. I mean, this bet obviously cashed, but not every winning bet is a best bet. There's no, it was a max bet too, but it still was not a best bet. Robelis to Spain, get the fuck out of here. I will be so happy never to see that guy's name ever again. Oh, I lost so much money on that one. See, and these are the kind of ones where I'm talking about here. Mitch Ramirez at plus 300 didn't need to do that. Chelsea Chandler, this one turned out well. Who was that? Who was that she fought? Oh, what was Chelsea Chandler? I can't even remember who her opponent was. Oh, Josiani. Oh, it was Nunez. Okay. All right. Josiani Nunez. That makes sense. I mean, that's one of those ones where, again, good bet, but not best bet, right? Like, but why? Chelsea Chandler's the kind of fighter I don't need to be putting my money on. And then I got the the one that's going to piss everybody off. Christian Rodriguez plus 155, and then hitting him at 6-1 live and getting the dub. My boy C-Rod. Oh, you guys know which one this was. This was C-Rod welcoming Isaac Bulgarian to the UFC. Oh, one of the biggest robberies of the year. But that 6-1 was just a terrible number. Like, if you've ever watched Bulgarian fight and you know that he can't go the full 15, and you know that C-Rod is never going to get finished in that kind of a spot, at least not by him. He got finished in his next fight. That one, I can't make it a best bet. I can't make it a best bet of the year, but it's a funny one. It's a fun one to look back on. Louis, yeah, you and me are going to be in the pits of hell with Robelis to Spain forever. I mean, I've got these spreadsheets, guys. I've got my spreadsheets from every year, and Robelis's name will forever sit on them as a bet that I made and lost multiple times. It's sad. I will always remember him, unfortunately. What's up, Josh? Thanks for coming into the show here today. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for hanging out. As we get through the rest of this bad boy, I got the legendary push here on Angelusa. Let's be real. That should go in the worst bet category. It's not a loser. I pushed. I got my money back. That should go in the worst bet of the year column. Abso-freaking-lutely. This was the one where he got the brakes beaten off of him by Brian Battle. Now, Brian Battle, who is taking out contenders in close competitive fights, I thought taking a shot on Angelusa plus 160 was a good idea. And I got saved a unit that night. I got bailed out that night because of a foul early stoppage type situation. Oh god, and then this was the bad PFL run that I went on. I don't even want to look at that. But you know what? We will go ahead and right here back to back. We had two, not one but two bets that are worthy of the best bet moniker here. Youssef Zalal 2.0 in his return fight at plus 135 over Billy Q. Oh baby, I should have gone right back to the well fading Billy Q. Should have trusted my balls and made that Cub Swanson play that I was talking about. Unfortunately, could have even bet violence. I could have done anything but what I did. Never mind. Different tangent. Let's talk about the good here. And then Peyton Talbot minus 110 against Cameron Simon. Oh, the internet was not happy with me. The internet was not happy with me for this take. Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember some of the scathing things that people were saying when I made that bet? I made him a max and I talked about him being a dog because he opened up like plus 115 or something like that against Cameron Simon. And I said on my podcast, I was like, y'all better get on that. He should not be the underdog. He should be the favorite. This kid's going to be a legend. And people were so angry with me. By the time I locked the bet in, I had to lay minus 110 because it was just steaming that direction. And people were not having it. He made Cameron Simon look like an amateur. Absolutely, positively. Maybe the best bet I made all year. Like, it may be the number one best bet and read I've had all year was Peyton Talbot. It's a short list. Umar, Dreykus, Talbot. Those were my three this year. Those were my three big guns that made me money all year long. And, not enough, obviously, to stem the pain coming the other direction. But yeah, that was woof. Let's see here. Oh God. So I don't really even want to talk about it. Cedric Dumas plus 230 for 5 units. Okay. So I got mocked relentlessly for this one. Relentlessly for this one. And I will stand by it. You guys, there's a lot of bets that I've made this year where I will smack myself in the face and go, what the hell was I thinking? What was I doing? That was a mistake. There's a lot of those. Like 90% of this list is those. Even some of the bets that I won is those. And I've been here already for a half hour. And I've been telling you guys the mistakes that I've made. And I'm telling you how bad some of these moves I've made were, right? I would make this again in a heartbeat. I pray they rebook this one. I've told you guys that Nursultan Frodzaboev is absolutely a bum, and we faded him hard with Joaquin Buckley. One of the most satisfying cashes of the year was just a couple months after this when I got to fade this man, betting Joaquin Buckley as an underdog against him, or as a small favorite. Sorry, not as an underdog, a small favorite. He is absolutely a fraud. And this fight, this stoppage was brutal. Go back and watch that. Like, you can see the light bulb turn on for Cedric's. You can see Frodzaboev slowing down after round one when his nuke landed and didn't finish his opponent. The tide is shifting. And then Dumas gets hit right in the fucking eye. Like, just John Jones style drilled in the eyeball. Goes down. Ref does not give him a second. And he gets TKO'd because he's covering his face up after getting poked in the eye and not defending himself. He gets TKO'd. Cedric wins that fight. Mark my words. If they run that back, if they rebook that fight, I'll do it again. And this is not a Yuri situation. Frodzaboev is actually a fraud. Yeah, obviously Pereira ends up being the freaking GOAT. I did my best to fade Alex Pereira. He ended up just being the best ever. That ain't Frodzaboev. Nursultan Frodzaboev is not Alex Pereira. I pray they rebook that fight and give me even close to a similar line. I will line back up and bet it again. In fact, now this isn't like the look ahead show, but we can take a look at some of the fights that are coming up kind of as we go through this. And one that is very noteworthy to me, you guys, one that is very noteworthy to me is that they have got my guy, Dumas, and he is matched up against Zachary Reese. You guys remember what happened to Zach Reese when somebody put hands on him? Do you guys remember him going out just ice cold when Cody Brundage touched him? They've got Dumas sitting as a plus 180 underdog against that man right now. Now, that's the January 18th card. So, not the first card of the year, but the second card of the year. And I'm watching that spot because plus 180 is delicious. I'm just wondering if it goes up or down. Because if it goes down, I need to move immediately. As soon as people figure out that that line is hanging out there, I need to move immediately because that'll be on my card. But, but if people are continuing to try to fade Cedric, then I have time. On Bet Online, it looks like Dumas is plus 210. DraftKings is plus 180. So Bet Online tends to be a little bit on the sharper side. And I would think that DraftKings would also trend that direction. Except every once in a while, DraftKings will either get like a really sharp or better that they haven't blocked yet, or they'll have somebody in the back that knows what they're talking about. And some of these positions like this one where they're like off market but down, it's because they are protecting themselves and they know a little bit. I'm not saying they're a sharp book because I know they're not. Like I know actual sharp bettors get blocked and banned from DraftKings because they don't like losing money and they have soft lines and stuff. But there are certain situations where DraftKings does know what they're doing, and I'm wondering if this is one where they get what's going on. Sean K saying it's not sure why you like Dumas so much. It's not like he's an exciting fighter. Sean, I will tell you. I like him so much because he's a dark horse. He may not be the most exciting fighter yet, but he has got some physical gifts that I think will separate him. His height, his reach, his explosiveness. He's still 29 years old, so he's still under like he's still like coming into his prime. And then of course, obviously, I know all the stuff outside the cage is not great. But he's had like a rough upbringing. You know, he's had a hard life. And that's the kind of guy that can have a drive that most people don't. He's got a second shot at life. And if he takes that second shot at life seriously, I actually think he can become something. Now, I am not expecting him to be a title challenger. You know, I'm not expecting him to be a top 5 guy. But what we were talking about is him getting plus 180 against the guy like Zachary Reese. Who the fuck is Zach Reese? We saw Cody Brundage just plaster that guy. He's not a good fighter either. But we're going to get plus 180 on a freak athlete like Dumas. If he can get his shit together, if he can learn how to wrestle a little bit, if he can get with a real coach, Dumas could be really good. And it's the athletic, or as my boy Liam would say, anthropomorphic advantages. Those are the types of things that if he can harness those, he'll be dangerous. And it's all about the spot. It's all about the spot. In certain spots, we want to back him. Zach saying SD is dog shit, dude. Is he? Is he though? I mean, he fought Josh Fremd high as shit in his UFC debut and got caught. Run that back. He ain't losing that fight. He beat Cody and Abu easily. So, I mean, not overly impressive performances, right? But he beat them very handily. Same thing with Dennis Tululian. He's got decent kickboxing skills. He knows how to use his reach. He knows how to wrestle. He's got some sneaky submissions if he gets the opportunity to use them, and he's getting better. And then he got that really poor stoppage against Nursultan that, frankly, is something you can just draw a line through. So, I mean, yeah, his losses are forgivable and his wins are not, I'm not going to say impressive. He does what I need him to do to get those wins. He's 3-2 in the UFC. So it's all going to come down to whether or not he can develop and take that next step as he gets the step up in competition. But the UFC quite obviously is still booking him at a relatively low level. He's getting Zach Reese in his next fight. They're not throwing him to the Wolves. So I just think there's something there. And yeah, Casey saying Rovelis destroyed me too. God, I hate him. Yeah, there's a lot of us. There's a lot of us. We can start a Robelis de Spain support group. And we'll start a Facebook group. I bet on Robelis de Spain. I survived. Oh my goodness. All right, guys. Let's move this show along here. Let's see. Two. More. Let's see. Oh God, lost money on Chelsea Hackett. What am I doing? Let's see here. Morgan Charrier. That was a robbery. I stand by that one. That was a fucking robbery. I can't believe I lost that fight. Liz Carmouche. Oh, that was a good bet. Ignacio Bahamondes and Liz Carmouche, 2-leg parlay. I remember that one. You guys you just got to keep betting Liz Carmouche. I don't care. Like, just blindly bet Liz Carmouche. It's what you do. Oh, here we go. Best bet candidate and worst bet candidate back to back. Kayla Harrison inside the distance at plus 120 for 4 units. Fuck yeah. You guys don't know how much shit I got for this. She's coming in here against Holly Holm, and people are like, she's a favorite over Holly Holm. What are they doing? It's like, not only is she a favorite, but she's finishing Holly, and I can guarantee it. And at plus 120, getting plus money on a finish from this chick, oh, just absolutely one of the best bets I made the entire year. Again, back-to-back, though, Calvin Kattar, plus 142 for 3 units, trying to fade Aljamain Sterling. I got a little bit of that back, fading Aljo in his last fight with Movsar Evloev. Kattar was not the guy. That was, I had the right thought, but I will be honest, Aljamain Sterling, I have underestimated a little bit as far as his strength and his grappling transitioning up a weight class. I did not think it was going to translate as well as it has. And it's been impressive. That is one that I will absolutely go right back to the well and say, hey, I was wrong. Because I thought Aljamain Sterling was not going to have his size bully advantage that he enjoyed at 135 pounds. And it has not mattered. He absolutely is bullying people around at 145 pounds as well. Unless you're getting a Movsar Evloev who is just as good of a grappler, who's able to stay a step ahead of you. But Aljo has been far more successful than I expected him to be. So bad read there for me. Oh yeah, the Max Holloway bet against Gaethje. That's a good one. Oh, let me get this back up here. That was a good one. Let's see here. Oh, I got suckered into betting Yan Xiaonan against Zhang Weili. I can't believe that shit. I was there live. I was hanging out at like a watch party for that one. And when she survived getting submitted, she was out cold. They woke her up and then she landed a bomb in the second round. I thought she was going to make that a fight. So I jumped in at 8-1. That was unfortunate, but yeah. So this one right here, you guys, just the consensus overall number one worst bet that I made in 2024. I put out a bunch of posts on social media. I wanted some of you guys to get in there and tell me what you felt my worst bets were. And I was going to kind of like rank them according to the people. This one was number one. The number one response I got from all of you guys was this was by far my worst bet. Jamal Hill, 7 units, max bet against Alex Pereira. And if you guys recall, I actually paid far more than my max bet on this one. I did my bet openly, accepting all action, $1 per like bullshit. That was just supposed to be a fun gimmick that blew up and cost me a couple $1,000s. That was tough. That was a rough night at the office for your boy, because I thought that I was going to be scooping on that one. And I also did not think that there were going to be that many of you who were going to jump in and force me to endure some pain on that one. It was all, giggles. It was all giggles when you guys were liking that button. And I was like, oh, a couple $100. Okay, cool. No problem. And then it just kept going. Jack, you're just in time. We're talking about it right now. Yeah. Worst decision I made ever. Now, I'm higher on Jamal Hill than I think a lot of you are. And I will fully admit that he's made it tough to be a fan in the last couple of months. He's been a little obnoxious in some of his posts online. And even to people like me that are like his fan and like backing him, he's like lashing out against those people online. It's been pretty brutal for Jamal Hill. I do think that, similar to what I was talking about with Cedric, I do think he's got some weird advantages. I think his hands are faster than a lot of 205ers. He does have serious durability. Now, obviously, nobody's taking the left hook from Alex Pereira, so you can't say he's chinny from that or anything like that. But I think Jamal has a lot of things that are good for him. And actually, I'm kind of stroking my chin here and looking at betting him against Yuri. I haven't decided if I want to get involved on that one or not yet. It's kind of coin flippy. Two guys that I've wanted to bet on going head to head with each other. So I'm not sure if I want to take the Jamal side or if I want to just kind of let it go and enjoy the brutality of that fight. But yeah, man, I've said it more times than I can count. I've already apologized for this one. I've already fessed up to being wrong. This was less of me being wrong about Jamal and more me being wrong about Alex. I just never thought Alex was going to be this good at 205. I never expected him to pick up wrestling and jiu-jitsu the way that he has. I did not think that his power was going to translate. And my God, not only has his power translated going up from 185 to 205, but it looks like it's worse. It looks like he hits harder at 205. Guys, that's not easy to do. Like, usually these fighters size bully people. They suck their bones dry cutting weight to get down an extra weight class. So they've got an advantage over the little guys they're in there fighting. And of course, they've got power when they're twice the size of their opponents. You know what I mean? Like, he's such a big man cutting down to 185 pounds. Even in his kickboxing career, he's so much bigger than the guys he's in there with. But when you let your body fill up and you move up a weight class, now you're fighting guys that are doing the same thing, that are sucking themselves down for an advantage. And you're not the big kid on campus anymore. Suddenly, you're not hitting as hard as the guys up a weight class are used to. You're kind of in the middle. It's not the same thing. It's a different ball game. And that's what I expected with this guy. Somehow Pereira has filled out that frame of his, and it looks like he's got a tough time making 205. He's bigger than natural 205ers. Yuri was talking about cutting down to 185 pounds after fighting that dude. And Yuri's a giant. So, like, these guys that are size bullies at 205 are like, fuck, get me out of here. When they saw what happened to Alex Pereira, I have no godly idea how that man filled out his frame at 205 the way he did. And I have no idea how his body said, thank you for the nutrients. It's delicious. And he just started hitting harder at 205 than he ever did at 185. I saw Izzy walk through that left hand several times. I saw Izzy take that left hand and come forward and fire back. Guys at 205 aren't doing that. Guys at 205 are like, oh shit, like, get that thing away from me. Like, all it takes is one, and that's it. It's over. He went from having, I mean, we call it death touch, right? Like, what is beyond death touch? Like, Francis Ngannou is the only guy beyond death touch. Alex Pereira is beyond death touch. Like, it's like he's in there with spikes inside of his glove. I was so wrong on Alex Pereira. And I bet against him more times than I should have. Two of the worst bets I made of the year, back to back, number one and number two. It was the max bet Jamal Hill plus 100 for 7 units, and Yuri Prochazka plus 145 for 5 units. Same bet, same opponent, and I just did not respect what Alex Pereira brought to the table. That's all it comes down to. So yeah, that was the worst of 2024. Absolutely the worst of 2024. Unfortunately for me, that was only about halfway through the year. So I still had a lot to go as far as pain is concerned. But this is a real good time for me to go ahead and shout out the sponsor real quick. You guys know Bet Openly. We have passed $9 million saved for gamblers, you guys. Make sure you check out the link in the description below. Get signed up. It is peer-to-peer betting. You're going to have a fellow degenerate pick up your bet, and because of that, you'll have the best odds market wide. You are not laying minus 110. You're getting plus 100 instead. And even with spreads and things like that. So if you're betting things other than MMA, like if you're taking a look at football, you can get even money or close to it on the spread, depending on where that number moves. Plus 101, minus 101. You're not beating these numbers. And then on top of that, if you want to do degenerate things like prop bet parlays and things like that, goal scorers, one of my favorite things to do, you can do that and it will instant book you. These are the one thing that this app does that is actually housed. So like the other human beings out there are the house, but for these instant prop parlays that you can do over here, these are housed by Bet Openly and they get filled absolutely instantly. So there's a lot of tools. There's a lot of flexibility. You'll be saving money long term. And then Spectation Sports, we're in a bit of a dry patch. They're not going to be back until January, but Cage Titan 69, nice. We'll be coming back around January 25th. This is an alternative to UFC's Fight Pass, and especially once we start heading towards getting back to Dana White's Contender Series, you guys are going to want to have a Spectation Sports subscription. You can save 20% off on your Spectation Sports subscription by using promo code DIEHARD. Use the link in the description below to go ahead and check that out. Let's go ahead and get back to the pain of 2024. Oh man. So after that awful event, let's see here. Tyler Diamond, that was the PFL. That was a good bet. And actually, I think the Barzola live bet that I made was pretty good as well. I went on a little run here. Dontel Mays. You guys remember that one? I was lamenting over betting on Dontel Mays again, but I was like, God, I have to. Like it's one of those ones where I don't want to bet on Dontel Mays, but he never should have been the underdog. So like I was forced to. And do not remind me about JP Buys, JSP ever again. This was the one where he fucked around and got his neck snatched after talking shit in the middle of his fight, which I just still absolutely cannot get over. We went back to the well with Bogdan Guskov. That was good times. We didn't get fooled by the smoke and mirrors of Alex Perez when he came back to the UFC. That was a good time. So we were feeling ourselves a little bit right here in this little run that we had going. One of the best bets of the year. Anthony Smith plus 425 against Vitor Petrino. Anthony Smith by sub at 14-1. I didn't hit a lot of these big prop bets this year, you guys. 2024, obviously bad year for me, but even more so than bad year, I couldn't get these prop bets to save my life. Usually, one of the things that bails me out over the course of the year is when I hit my KO props, I hit my submission props, I hit my round 3 sprinkles. Those help. You know, they add up over the course of the year and they end up kind of clawing you back when you miss a couple of the, big 1 or 2 unit money line bets. You'll hit one of these 14-1s and it saves the night for you. I just wasn't hitting those. For some reason this year, I was not seeing clearly for these methods of victory. Getting the Smith by sub, the fraud check for Vitor Petrino, damn, that felt good. I wish I had had the balls to bet Dustin Jacoby. I didn't get there in that last fight for Vitor Petrino. I talked about it. I wanted to play the 3.5 spread. I wanted to play the money line, but I wanted to play the decision. And see right there, that's a perfect example. I would have played the decision bet for Dustin Jacoby, not the KO, and he nukes him into the 3rd round. What a fun night that was. That was a good time. Last card of the year this year was really freaking good. They did good. They did good for the last card of the year. Let's see here. Veronica Hardy cashing as always, my girl. Chase Hooper, my boy, cashing as always. I lost a lot of money on Alex Caceres that night, though. That was bad. There's the Joaquin Buckley fade. There's the minus 165 when we took out Fraud Zabaev yet again. That was a good one. But see right here. Here's, oh God. Themba Gorimbo closed this parlay, you guys. Plus 110 for 3 units. Themba Gorimbo and Robelis de Spain. Should have been an easy peasy plus 3.3 units for me. And instead, Robelis decided to show us what a bum he was that night. But did I listen? Did I listen? You know what? What do they always say? When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Right? When someone comes out with their true colors, sit up and pay attention, believe them. Robelis de Spain showed us who he was. And I kept saying, you know what? I'm just going to drive straight on past that red flag. I can fix him. And instead, I just lost more money on Robelis de Spain. Yeah, it happened again a little bit later on, but that was the first red flag that we drove through at breakneck speed, right? Let's see here. There's another bet on Themba Gorimbo. See what I'm saying? We had a good year with Themba, you guys. We had a good year with Themba, picking out when we couldn't bet on Themba. I'll add him to the list because it was Umar Nurmagomedov, Dricus Duplessis, Merab Dvalishvili, and I guess Thimba Garimbo should go on the list of fighters that we just had a really, really good read on this year. It's a short list. It's a short list. Every time I hear this, do you guys see any of you guys watch South Park? the, the episode where they're all running from climate change, and he like rolls down the window and we didn't listen. I always hear Randy's voice. Anytime someone says we didn't listen, I hear Randy. Oh, good times. I love that show. Okay, let's see here. Rolling down. Oh, Jocelyn Edwards. Yeah, that was tough. That was a tough loss. She was the one that we were up and down with, and we ended up going back to the well with her a little bit later in the year and caught some of that back there. Phil Rowe, that was a tough loss to take. I remember that one. We bounced back with Gelton Almeida inside the distance. Oh my God, Cesar Almeida. Okay. I was so pained by what happened with Alex Pereira that I convinced myself that Cesar Almeida was going to be the same thing. I was like, oh, Alex Pereira. Oh, they're setting the exact same shit up with this guy. And so what do? I start betting as much as I can in Cesar Almeida over and over and over again. And God dang it. This guy lost me bad that night. I could argue that was a close fight in the end. I really could. But he almost got finished. That was the fight where he fought Chase Hooper's big brother. What is his name? Damn it. Chris Curtis is fighting him next. See, this is the problem with me. I do this show too much that every once in a while my brain shuts off. And I know who I'm talking about. I can see his face and I know his next fight, but I can't remember his fucking name. He's fighting Chris Curtis. It is Roman Kopylov. Almeida fought Hopilov that night. And Hopilov almost knocked him out. Almeida fought his way back into the fight. Hopilov kind of gassed out towards the end. It was a split decision. But yeah, that was rough one to have 4 units on. Easily could have just been like a 2-unit bet or something. Okay. And here, this one, you guys, this one. I missed here. I'm going to edit this here because I messed up the name. Paulo Costa at plus 200. I have talked shit about Paulo Costa for a really, really long time. He's a guy that I've had maybe one of the best reads on ever. So when he first made it to the UFC, this was before I was doing my podcast. Right when I was just getting started being a degenerate gambler and betting on MMA. One of the biggest bets that I made at that point in time was when he fought Johnny Hendricks. 2017. So way before the pod started. I could not believe that old, fat, off the PEDs Johnny Hendricks was moving up a weight class to fight this monster. And Johnny Hendricks was the favorite. I mean, guys, this is the kind of spot that got me betting MMA. I literally was like, what are they doing? You're really going to give me plus money on a guy like Paulo Costa against this version of the big rig? I got to start a fucking podcast. That's the kind of stuff that you just don't see anymore. The sports books have caught up. The bookies are sharp as nails now when it comes to MMA. But you go back 10 years and they had no idea what they were doing. Paulo Costa sold everyone that he was this massive power puncher by knocking out old ass busted Johnny Hendricks, a frail Uriah Hall. And everyone thought he had this vicious, brutal knockout power. And I kept telling everybody he doesn't. He doesn't. He's fast, but he doesn't have power. He's got all those muscles, but he's not Alex Pereira. He doesn't hit like that. And we faded him every chance we got. Israel Adesanya, Marvin Vettori. I did bet him against Luke Rockhold, Robert Whittaker, Sean Strickland. That's the one. This is the one right here that I'm like, why the hell did I bet Costa versus Sean Strickland, because I had been batting 1,000 with this guy. The only fight I lost was the Yoel Romero fight. And I actually think Yoel won that fight, actually, mind you. I bet on Yoel Romero that night. Paulo Costa got the split decision. It was a battle. It was a war. That was a great fight. If that's guys, if you haven't seen a good Paulo Costa fight in a long time, if you want to remember what this guy was when he was hyped up to fight Israel Adesanya, watch the Yoel Romero fight. That's a damn good fight. But that's really the one black mark on my record with Paulo Costa. I knew this guy was a fraud. And then when he hit plus 200 against Sean Strickland, I went, I got to get me some of that. Because Sean Strickland fights close with everybody. Now, that fight went to a split decision. So what do we always say? If it goes to a split decision, you want to be on the plus money side of it. That shouldn't have been a split decision. So even though, generally speaking, I want plus money when it goes to a split, I feel like one of those judges was paid off trying to get that fight for Paulo Costa. That was a Sean Strickland fight if I ever saw one. Paulo started strong. I think that's the one where he hurt Sean, and then Sean was doing the Russian nutcracker, the stepping. I can't do it because my legs are down under my desk here. But he was like doing the front kicks and just kind of walking him down in that real awkward clip of him. Honestly, 20,000 IQ genius fight move to be able to do that shit and have it work. But Paulo Costa just didn't have anything for him down the stretch, and Strickland obviously won that fight. So I should never have gotten involved in that spot, knowing full well that's where, like, I know we want to bet numbers, not fighters, right? Like you want to take a good number in a spot like that instead of being sold on, oh, this guy is gonna win, because that the people bet and chalk that way. In 2024, they've won piles. Okay. It's tough. It's real tough because I want to sit here and talk to you about gambling theory and how it works one way. But everybody doing what I said doesn't work has just gone home with the bag time and time and time again for an entire year. And I'm sitting here losing damn near an entire bankroll over the course of 365 days. So it's hard for me to say this and still feel like it all can have any kind of a straight face or credibility. But long term, and again, 1 year sample size is not long term, believe it or not, but long term, just laying ridiculous amounts of chalk in close competitive fights doesn't work. Now, if you pick your spots, there's people out there that are really good at picking their spots. You can make it work. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is a hard and fast, but that Sean Strickland split decision, can't tell you how many of those bit me in the ass this year. Can't tell you how many splits I lost with a plus 200 in my pocket. That happens a lot. I mean, look at the state of judging in MMA these days. It's happening all the damn time. People just getting robbed blind by these people. And that's why you don't want to be on the chalky side of life when it comes to MMA. And that's all I can say about it. So maybe not my best bet of all time, but when it goes to a split decision like that, you want to be on the plus side of it. But I also knew that Paulo is a bum, so I probably should have never made the bet in the first place. Levels to this shit, people. Levels. This is what self-diagnosis looks like. This is therapy. You guys think I'm providing you content. You guys think I'm doing a betting show for you. This is therapy. I'm working through the traumas of 2024 right now, and you guys are just hearing about it. Have you ever watched Shrinking? Have you ever watched Shrinking? Good show. If you guys haven't watched Shrinking, you need to have just like a little hint of a dark sense of humor, which I'm assuming if you're watching my MMA podcast, you probably do have a dark sense of humor. It's a good show. Give it a shot. It's a good one. Let's see here. Oh, Denise Gomes, our girl, our Brazilian lesbian with the neck tattoo. We hit this one twice this year coming through for us. Not best bet. Can't. You know what? Okay. All right. Chat. Help me out here. We hit Denise Gomes twice, and we came up with the brand new fresh angle of Brazilian lesbians with the neck tattoo. Does she deserve a best bet? Does she deserve to be on the best bet list because of creating just the best betting angle in women's MMA history? Tell me. Get in the chat. Let me know. Do we give Denise Gomes a best bet thumbs up for the year or not? What are we doing? Come on, help me out. And I bet Andrea Lee again. Look at this. Look at that. God, second time in a row. I bet Andrea Lee again. What the fuck? What is wrong with me? Oh, and the Charles Radke bet. Oh my God, don't remind me. I faded Carlos Prates and Alex Pereira. I just faded them all year, both of them. And fuck me. Here we go. Louis says top 10. Meatball says Gomes gets a thumbs up for getting the Brian Battle haircut. Killer Fight Pick says 100% angle of the year. Okay, all right, that's it. Denise Gomes gets a best bet of the year. Let's go. We'll give it to her. Let's see here. Stoltzfus. Oh my god. So here, back to back here with this is the duality of man right here, right? Dustin Stoltzfus at plus 220 for 2 units comes through looking like a genius. Dom Reyes, loses looking like a fucking idiot. Dom Reyes at plus 192 units comes through looking like a genius. What do we do with Dustin Stoltzfus, you guys? What do we do with my boy Dustin Stoltzfus? Because I have talked to people forever about this guy. And I keep telling people he's not as bad as they think he is. He's another dark horse. He's another guy that I can make money on, right? He's zigzagging in the UFC. Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. We bet on him when he beat Dwight Grant. We bet against him when he lost to Abus. We bet on him when he beat Puna Haley. And then I bet this bet against Bruno. That one clouded my judgment so badly. I mean, we were literally zigzagging with this guy exactly when we needed to. We were perfect with Dustin Stoltzfus. And then I was wrong against Bruno Ferreira because I thought Bruno would tire out and Dustin would take over in that fight. And he got spinning elbowed so badly, his face was broken. He comes on a quick turnaround, and I'm thinking, Marc-Andre Barrios is just the easiest, peasiest cash of all time. The bag. Low-hanging fruit. Just caress it. Like, it's just, yes, I know it looks like I'm fondling balls, but like, that's how easy that spot looked. And he nukes Marc-Andre Barrios. A jiu-jitsu guy who's never had success striking in the UFC ever, just blasts Marc-Andre Barrios, knocks him out cold in the first round. What? God. Oh, this game is so infuriating sometimes. Like if you just what's the meme of the guy that's got like the smooth brain, right? Like where he doesn't get it, but he's right, and then like you go through the process of being super smart about it, and then somehow when you get genius IQ, you come back to being the same decision you were the first time. Like if you're a fucking idiot and you're alternating wins and losses betting on Dustin Stoltzfus, like you're just blindly alternating wins and losses, like you're fucking stupid, but it's working. And then in this spot, it's like if you had just come to the conclusion that Marc-Andre Barrios shouldn't be that big of a favorite and you're zigzagging on this guy, it's the same outcome. You're a fucking genius. You cash your ticket, but one of you is very wrong. And the other one of you is very smart. Like I just can't. I never expected him to come back off of the elbow KO from Ferreira and the broken face to wanting to strike it out with a guy like Marc-Andre. And then the big knock on Stoltzfus has always been his cardio. This thing ended in round 1. There was never a chance for cardio to get involved. He slows down in round 3 when he can't control the pace of the fight, when he's not just mauling you grappling, right? So I didn't expect him to be able to keep that kind of a pace up and have success long-term against Marc-Andre. I thought Marc would eventually turn the tables. Instead, he just nukes him. What? Oh, what the hell, MMA? Why are you drunk? Just always drunk. Oh my goodness. All right, let's keep going here. Let's keep going. We're getting through this thing. Let's see. Oh yeah, I got suckered into betting Miles Johns, something I never do. Let's see. Oh, do for it. That was in the PFL. Oh, I thought that was my boy. That was my boy. Look at this. You guys, I got to go back and like crunch the numbers here because I lost so much money in PFL this year. Like, again, I know the overall record is shit, but I think a large chunk of that was the PFL. If I had just passed on the PFL altogether, I really think I probably would have had an okay year. I'm not even kidding. I'm laughing because it's painful and you have to joke about these things. Otherwise, you just get sad. But I really think if I had just passed on the PFL, I would have had an okay year. Like, it would have been a losing year, but it wouldn't have been nearly this bad. My God. Oh Lord. Yes, I put my money on Tricoli. Not once, but twice. Twice. I deserve, you know how, like, when you get a belt promotion in jiu-jitsu and you walk down the line and everyone gets to whack you with your bet, or with their belts, and it's an honor thing, right? You get to get smacked by all the guys in the gym for some reason, and it's fun. I deserve that, except with like leather belts that are painful. I deserve the lashing for that one. Because this guy's a bum and he's fighting people outside and pulling up on people, all kinds of shenanigans. He's cut from the UFC already. He absolutely fumbled the biggest bag of all time. I just real quickly, I want to apologize to Mackenzie Dern because I lost money on Antonio Tricoli. And Mackenzie, I know that you also wasted time in your life and likely dollars of yours on this bum. You and I essentially, you and me, we get each other. There's a connection here because of this. And I just want to commiserate and I want to apologize. And Mackenzie, I want to let you know that if you ever need anything, I'm here for you. And I'm very sorry that we both made the same mistake. We can trauma bond over this. So we'll get through this. We'll get through this. We will. I promise. Oh, Lord. Oh, that was so bad. And then I bet Daniel Rodriguez. You guys, this one. Why am I continuing to bet people? I need your guys' help. Because I remember this one. When I do these breakdowns, I've got the podcast, and a lot of you who are live here are live when I'm doing my podcast. And I go, I don't have a good read on this guy. Like, Daniel Rodriguez has been around forever, right? D-Rod has been in the UFC for years, and I've never had a good read on him. I cannot grasp this guy. He's been in the UFC since 2020. I've got 4 years. I should know what I'm doing with Daniel Rodriguez at this point, but I don't. And I keep somehow finding ways to lose money with this guy. You guys got to stop me. If you guys are in the chat for my live shows and I say, I don't have a good read on this guy, I've never had a good read on this guy, that's a cry for help. I need you guys to help me to understand that I should be passing in that situation, because there's a small handful of guys exactly like D-Rod who I just never have gotten and continue to not get. And then I also continue to line up and try to bet them. Why do I do this, you ask? Because I think maybe at some point I'll figure them out. I don't know. I can't figure it out. I don't know why I keep doing this. Sometimes there's people you just don't get. And I need to accept that, and I need to be okay with it, and I need to move on, and I need to not waste anybody else's precious time or money on fights like that, especially when I know full damn well it's a fighter that I'm not good at betting on. We've got our guys. Stick to your damn guys and avoid people that you don't get, like the frickin' plague. Oh, this one. Carlos Hernandez at plus 375. I'll be honest with you guys. The sub, 14-1. The round 3, 28-1. The round 3 sub at 50-1. This was against that road to UFC Asian prospect kid. And I got to tell you, this is one of those ones where it lost, but especially those late round 3 props. This was not the worst bet that I've ever made. Carlos Hernandez had Rei Tetsuya exhausted and was actually starting to punch his way back into that fight. If that was a 5-round fight, Carlos Hernandez absolutely finishes that kid. It was a 3-round fight, and that saved him because he was gassed. Sorry, drink break. It's that time of year. I still got that damn tickly throat. You guys ever get that? Like I never really got all the way sick. I just kind of had a cold, and it's just lingering, and I've got a damn dry throat that I have to make sure to keep getting in there and wetting it down, because if I don't, I will break out into a coughing fit, and it's like I'm okay, but I keep on, yeah, frustrating. It's annoying, especially when you're talking. Oh yeah, there's the Yuri. There's the Yuri 5-unit bet right there. We already talked about it. Yes, yes. Alex Pereira owns my soul. I should get, if I ever bet against Alex Pereira for like a max bet ever again and miss, I'm gonna have to get like a tattoo of him on my back, like Steve-O style, like just Alex on my back, like with the belt around his waist, because he owns my ass. Oh God, I'm never doing that ever again. I'm not promising I won't bet against him. I might bet against him, but I'm never max betting against him ever. Oh, Andre Petrowski. Oh, that was a good one. That was the elevation fight. That was Josh Fremd. See, this is the one where it's like you fade trash with just like a little bit better trash. I cannot believe they made Fremd a favorite in the UFC in 2024. Cannot believe it. Still to this day, can't believe that happened. And I got a lot of shit for this one, you guys. As usual, right? My unpopular underdogs that end up winning. I got so much shit for this bet. Absolutely everybody was convinced, because it was a home fight for Josh Fremd in his backyard, that he would be the one better in elevation, that he would be the one that would be able to, mount some offense here. But he got cut after missing weight purposefully in his next fight, trying to gain an advantage before the UFC let him go. I was so sad. So very sad that I can't fade Josh Fremd anymore, because I should be able to for the rest of my life. Oh, my girl, Myra Agapova. I'm going to miss her. She kept taking shitty fights. She couldn't stay healthy. Couldn't keep herself in a gym. She's another. See, okay. Interesting. Myra Agapova is the female version of Cedric Dumas. You guys were asking me earlier in the show what I think of Cedric Dumas. Myra Agapova is the bad example. She's gifted. She's athletic. She's a little crazy, which in MMA, frankly, you like. And if she were able to stick with a real gym and a real coach and buckle down and train and work, she could have been something, man. To this day, I really feel like Myra Agapova is just kind of the world of MMA chewed her up and spit her out, unfortunately. There's some dark shit that goes on that we don't have to deal with as people that just watch the sport. She had some trauma going on, man. I feel bad for her, honestly. But the world chewed her up and spit her out. And if she had gotten with the right coach, and if she had found a good gym, I actually think she could have really been something, because that girl, she's mean. She's got some power on her. She's got good cardio. She can strike, and just some of those athleticism type things. I think she could have been something. So we'll have to keep an eye on. Sean, that's one that, and again, I don't have all the facts, so I don't like to talk too much about that kind of stuff, because I don't have all the information. For the audio listeners who can't see, he's asking if Dumas like beat his girl or something like that. Now, I will avoid the political rant for you guys, because I've told you time and time and time again, this is not a political show. I don't do politics. I come to do this to gamble and bet on MMA, to get the fuck away from the tragedy of the real life and politics and all that kind of stuff. But he was, I believe, what is it? They basically scrubbed it. I think there was some element of her fabricating the story, from what I understand. So he wasn't locked up for it, but I also believe he might be like a multiple time offender of it. There's like a history there of that shit. So that's where, like, I don't want to be the guy who just buries my head in the sand because you're like, oh, you didn't get convicted. It's like, OJ didn't get convicted. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people do shit, and the entire internet wants to pretend like they didn't do it if they didn't get convicted of it in a court of law. And that, I believe in innocent until proven guilty, but at the same time, there's some pieces of shits out there that are walking among us, and some of them are running our country, and they should have been convicted but weren't. Like, you know what I mean? So like, it's a slippery slope to get on as far as that kind of thing. There's a lot of people who should be behind bars that aren't, is all it comes down to. You know what I mean? So again, I don't know. The most recent situation with him got dismissed. I guess that's the right word, right? It got dismissed, something like that. But he does have a history there. So again, I'm not saying that Dumas is a great guy. I'm not. I think he's a guy we can make money on gambling. I told you guys I'm off my high horse. Going into 2025, I am off my high horse. We are not caring about steroids. We are not caring about fence grabs. I'm not bitching about people grabbing the gloves. If you're going to cheat and they're going to let you get away with it, I'm going to get paid for it. Like that's the new attitude moving forward, right? So if Dumas is a terrible piece of shit outside the octagon and I can make money betting on him once he's in the octagon, I'm not the guy who put him in the octagon. I'm not the moral police here. So if I can find an angle to bet and make money on it, that's what I'm doing. So again, I'm not like, yeah, it's tough. It's tough because I've always been I want to be like a straight shooter type of guy. Don't want to be here pretending like people should be able to get away with those kinds of things. But again, I'm not the person that controls that. And we're just talking about MMA and betting. So the outside the cage stuff doesn't matter. Look at people in John Jones. I got people every single week licking boot and firing back anytime I say anything bad about John Jones. He's a piece of shit, but he's the GOAT, right? Best fighter in our sport ever. Dana White will parade him around and hold him up for absolutely everybody to look at as a role model. Biggest piece of shit in the organization, besides Connor. The two biggest names in our sport, absolute pieces of shit. Let that sink in for a minute. We can't get on moral stuff here. MMA fighters, not all of them, but the majority of them choose to be MMA fighters for a lack of other options and because it keeps them out of trouble, and they tend to not be the best people in the world. So again, if we're enjoying fights, we just got to enjoy fights for fight's sake. That's what we're doing. Actually, Killer said, I think Dumas left his John Jones arc behind. He's not in his John Jones arc. He already did that shit. So I think he's on his way out. Louis saying, love a crazy girl. Oh, God, be careful, Louis. Just make sure you're following the hot to crazy ratio, right? You've got to, have you guys seen that one? The How I Met Your Mother? She must, if she is this crazy, she must be exactly this hot. Hey, I hear you though, man. I hear you. I'm a sucker for redheads. I married one, so I know all about the crazy girls. Oh Lord. All right. Let's move this bad boy along. Bruno Silva, a bet that we cashed. That was a good one. That was the Cody Durden fight. And you guys know my history with Cody Durden, right? Like I always fade the guy because I feel like we've seen kind of the tip of what he can do. Again, no hate against the guy. He's a guy that, like, again, no hate. No, I'm not trying to hate on him or anything. We're betting here. That was a hell of a comeback. Like Cody was beating the brakes off of Bruno. I can't believe Bruno was able to land that uppercut. And Dream going, we're still live? Yes, we are still live. This was supposed to be like a quick 30-minute show for you guys. And then the chat started popping and we got off on tangents and I'm still sitting here. So don't ask questions, Dream. It's Christmas Eve and we're an hour and a half in on what was supposed to be just a little quick show for you guys. Instead of having so much fun, we're just going to keep it rolling here. Oh, my Lord. Oh, catching Bruno live at plus 500, Dream. What a bet. Good shit, dude. I had him pre-flop, and frankly, he was getting his ass beat. So I was way too scared to go in on that one again. Oh, Manel Kopp. That was I think that was, did I bet Manel Kopp at plus 160? I did. Oh, my God. Oh, no more Manel Kopp for me, you guys. No, I parlayed him up in this last fight of the year and got a win over Bruno Silva, oddly enough. But this was the Muhammad Mokaev fight. This was the one that broke my heart because I had futures tickets on both Kopp and Mokaev, and I was supposed to, they imported a challenger from one to give Pantoja a body to fight and defend his title against, because this fight ended up being such a shithole. I was supposed to have 10-1 on one side and 14-1 on the other side, free rolling into a title shot with Alexandre Pantoja and just being able to hedge out and make free money and go home easy peasy after this one. But the fight sucked so bad that they decided neither guy gets the title shot. And I lost both sides of it. And I lost my Minnow Cop plus 160 bet in a fight where they let Makayev get away with murder. And again, this was one of the fights that broke me. This was one of the fights that changed my opinion. If you're going to let the fighters grab the shorts, if you're going to let the fighters grab the fence, if you're going to let them hold the gloves illegally, all that shit, I'm not losing money on it anymore. Like that shit, I lost more. I got fucked out of both my futures bets, and I lost this 2-unit play on Manel Cop because the referee refused to stop a dirty fighter from being dirty. If they're going to let these assholes do that kind of shit, we need to understand that we can make money off of it. That's just end of story. Over, done. I'm not falling for this shit anymore. We're going to start labeling some of these fighters dirty. And when we figure out that they are that way, we're going to bet on them every chance we get so that we can make some freaking cash. Bilal Muhammad, plus 210, the 5-unit bomb. You guys, I'm going to have to wrap the show up. This really is taking forever. But the short list for my best bets of the year, 7 units on Peyton Talbot at minus 110. 5 units on Merab Dvalishvili at plus 124 over Sean O'Malley. 5 units on Dricus Duplessis plus 110 against Israel Adesanya. 4 units on Kayla Harrison inside the distance against Holly Holm at plus 120. And the number one best bet of 2024, Bilal, remember the name, Muhammad, at plus 210. 5 units. We absolutely smashed that spot. The hate, the unnecessary, unfair hate of Bilal Muhammad might just be the most profitable thing I've ever discovered in my life. All the way back to 2021. Wonderboy Thompson. I cashed a plus 200 ticket on him that night. Vicente Luque. I cashed a plus 150 ticket on him that night. A plus 120 against Sean Brady. A plus 125 against Gilbert Burns. And then finally a plus 215 against Leon Edwards. This man has been the ruler of this weight class without anybody giving him the credit for it. Just dominating 170 pounds. Running through every single person they put in front of him. And it's been plus money every single fucking time. I love Bilal Muhammad. I should be, you know what? After that cash, I bought his t-shirt. It's sitting upstairs. I know exactly where it's at. I wish I were wearing it right now. I should have prepped for this and had that shirt on so I could rip my Patty the Batty sweater off and be rocking my Bilal Muhammad remember the name shirt to signify him being my number one best bet. Because my God, he beat Leon Edwards pillar to post. And you want to say Leon got one good shot in round 5? Okay, fine. But like, he got his ass whooped that night. And frankly, you guys, they're going to book him up against Shavkat, and I am really pissed off that the Ian Gary fight went the way that it did. I had a 1-unit bet on Ian Gary at plus 300, and now everyone is like, oh, maybe Shavkat is not the monster under the bed. It was a close enough fight that people woke up to the fact that Shavkat is a human being. And I think that might damage some of the Bilal Muhammad equity, and that upsets me. Because we absolutely were going to get a ridiculous number on Bilal Muhammad. And I'm pissed. Because you know for a fact that I am betting Bilal Muhammad. You guys just know. You know it's coming. Like, how could I not? We're on the kind of run right now. When you're on a money train like this, you just don't get off. Why would you? You're cashing over and over and over and over again. Maybe we lower the unit count, right? I'm not saying I'm going to put 5 units max underdog bet on Bilal Muhammad when he fights Shavkat Rakhmonov, but I'll put 1 or 2. You know what I mean? Like, I might not go all the way full hardcore degenerate hammer on it, but I'm betting Bilal Muhammad. I'm hoping we get 2-1 because that's just straight up disrespectful. That man has been the champ forever. Let's see. Local man shakes fist, says smash Bilal money line plus 190 on Bet Online as soon as they dropped it. Yeah, yeah. And that's see that right there is kind of the problem. Is I think a lot of people are going to do that because of that most recent fight. They're going to they're going to get in there. Yeah, see, saying it's plus around plus 130 now. See, it's not nearly as fun. I was going to smash the plus 200 as well, but I'm not betting that far in advance and tying up my funds quite that far out for that kind of a play. I'll take the near even money. It'll be okay. I'm sure as we get closer to fight time, it'll trend back the other way just a little bit because the Shavkat truthers will come in around even money. So I'm hoping to get like the plus 160 range, something like that. I'd be okay with that. Trevbot says, I am Bilal's number one fan. Bro's the GOAT. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. He follows me. And I've had some DMs going with my guy, Bilal. He is awesome. Cool dude. And really fun to be on this run with him as far as him being the most disrespected champ ever. Also, fuck Leon Edwards. All right, let's see here. You know what? We are about... Oh, Liz Carmouche. There we go. Yeah, always with the Liz Carmouche. Okay. Yeah, delete the Allen card, Jonathan Denise. Good times. Oh, the Yusuf Zalal anchor. Yeah, we did the anchor parlays. You know what? Here. So what I'm going to do, you guys, because there's still a lot left, unfortunately, and we are an hour and a half in. I'm going to just go ahead and read off the worst bets at this point instead of waiting until they pop up. So we already know. Number one worst bet, Jamal Hill against Alex. Number two worst bet, Yuri Prochazka against Alex Pereira. Alexa Grasso laying it big against Shevchenko turned out to be a terrible bet. Grasso did not develop the way I expected her to, and Shevchenko was just the better, more well-rounded fighter and adjusted the way that she needed to win that fight. Betting against Carlos Prates multiple times, much like Alex Pereira, all of those bets are on this list. Taitua Vasa at plus 185 for 3 units against Marcin Tybura. I still kind of stand by that one. Like, Marcin is a guy that can be had. Oh, you know what? Maybe that's the wrong one. I know I bet Taitua Vasa twice this year. He might not have been plus 185 against Tybura. I think that was the other fight because I think he was a slight favorite against Tybura. Yeah, he was even money against Tybura. And the plus 185 was against Jairzinho Rosenstrike. And that was the one. That I lost my ass on, unfortunately. And then this was the one that I really wanted to tell you guys. One of the absolute, the two more that I had to do. I already mentioned Tricoli. I deserve to be flogged for the Tricoli bet. But the other two that are on the list that we were going to get to was my anchor of Benoit Saint-Denis when he fought Money Moicano. The fact that I anchored him in that spot, and I've only lost one anchor bet, and it was my guy Benoit Saint-Denis. I still think that fight goes differently if they run it back. Regardless, it was a terrible bet. It was a terrible bet. And if they hadn't stopped it for his eye, I think Moicano was completely done. I was hoping they were going to let that fight go because Benoit Saint-Denis was supposed to be the next big thing. I was hoping they were going to let it go. That was another cut stoppage that fucked me. I'm telling you guys, this year, so not only have I made some really, really bad bets, which we've already confessed to, but I've lost every bounce, every split decision, every cut, every swollen eye, like all of that shit. If I was in a fight where that happened, I lost it. So the bad luck, I think, will swing the other way next year, kind of the way it did in 2023. I should catch more bounces than I did this year because, for the love of God, like statistics, it has to even out eventually. I'll catch some of those split decisions. I'll catch some of those stoppages instead of being on the wrong side of all of them. But that's been the entire year. Bad choices compounded with inflated ego on certain spots and then bad breaks. And also no underdogs. Just another historic year of favorites rolling through. Expect more dogs to be barking in 2025. And then the last one, you guys, the last one I'll leave you with here was my 5-unit bomb of Daira Zeleznikova against Aileen Perez. Oh my God. Aileen should just, she's allowed to twerk on me whenever she wants because I deserve it. I didn't believe in Aileen Perez. And quite frankly, you guys sitting here in front of you today, I will fully admit that I still don't. She's not Alex Pereira. Eileen Perez is not Alex Pereira. I'm putting it out into the universe. I swear, if Eileen somehow turns into the next Alex Pereira, she ends up being a top 3 fighter and challenging for a freaking title, I'm going to lose my shit. There's no way. There's just no way Eileen Perez is the next Alex Pereira. I will catch her. I will get her at a spot that I will bet against her, and I will get some of my money back on Eileen Perez. However, I have a newfound respect for her skill set. I have a better understanding of where she's at and what it's going to take to beat her. So I am not going to just bum around with these bad fighters trying to take advantage of her, but it's coming. My day is coming, and I will get my money back against Eileen Perez. I don't know if it's the next one. Might be the one after that, but it's happening. All right, guys. We went on for about an hour and 40 minutes. That was way longer than I expected this show to be. I want to thank you all so much for being here with me. I do want to remind you guys, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, the Die Hard MMA Podcast, because we have only one more show right here on the home of Fight. We will be saying adieu and going our separate ways at the end of the year. And I am going solo starting January 1st, 2020. I'm going to spread my wings and see how far I can fly. The landscape is shifting. Things are going to be a little bit different. And I should have done this a long time ago, but I'm doing it now. I'm a little late, but it's happening. So we're going to take a shot at it. We're going to see what we can do on our own. And I am going to get my ass out there and try and make something of myself instead of building somebody else's platform for once. I wish you all a very happy holidays. I hope you guys have a very Merry Christmas. Please travel safely. And again, I know that this is a really tough time for some people. Not everybody is surrounded by family and friends right now. For those of you who are in that position, I just want to wish you the absolute warmest of holidays. There's a place for you to go. There's people for you to see. Even if you're just hanging out at your local bar with your favorite bartender, I want you to know that you're loved. I want you to know that there are people out there that care about you, and it's okay. And I'm going to keep the MMA content coming to you right here on this show. So stay plugged in, hang out with me. I'll get you something to listen to and get through these holidays. The sun will rise. All right. There's been some shit that I've gone through this year, you guys. I told you guys, that my biggest losing year was 2022. And there was a lot going on behind the scenes that year. And it was no coincidence that one of the most turbulent years of my life coincided with one of the worst years of my life betting. And I do my best to keep my personal stuff personal, and I don't want to vent on this podcast. That's not what this show is. So I'm not trying to like weigh it down with personal stuff. I try to share fun stuff with you guys. I try to make you laugh. This year has been one of the hardest years of my life. And so for me, it's really not surprising that I've had some of the results that I have had, because I have had a whole lot of struggles that you guys simply don't know about, that have been very difficult for me to deal with. Unfortunately, it's been a really, really hard year. So the sun will rise, guys. The sun will rise. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter how hard you wish for it not to. The sun is coming up again. We're going to get a fresh day. We're going to get a fresh chance. And we just have to do our very best to greet that day with our best effort. We got to put our best foot forward. We got to be the best version of ourselves. We've got to look back and we got to understand it doesn't matter what happened to get us to this point. We control our own destinies moving forward. And I mean that for everybody. Some of you are having a really hard time right now. Be the best you can be tomorrow. Even if that's just 25%, if that's all you've got to give that. Do your best. You've got this. Some of you are having a great time. You're going to have an amazing holiday. You're going to hang out with your family, and this is going to be a great, happy time for you. And that's amazing. And I'm so happy for you. But there's a struggle at work, or there's a struggle with your spouse, or there's a project that you're working on that you just can't quite get past. When that time comes that you get back to that, give your best effort. You guys, you've got this. All right? We're going to make it. We're going to get through this. We're going to do it together. It's going to be all right. I hope you guys have a very happy holidays. a very Merry Christmas. Thank you all so much for the love and support. Without you guys, I wouldn't be here. I know I say that a lot, but it's the truth. Without you guys, I would not be here doing this. So I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. And I'll talk to you guys next week. We will be live for the finale show right here on Home of Fight next week, December 30th, for the last show on the platform. Love you guys. Let's roll.